Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, two dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from hardware and software to apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty Gensius, a faculty member at Kent State University, a podcaster, and an Apple really fanboy is, I think, the best way to put it.
And I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content and consume content. Currently, photography of plants, birds, and panoramic sequences.
And we've got a third with us. We have a regular panel member who's come in this week, Dan Burkholder. Dan, say hello, and let's get the show going.
Yeah, hello. Software engineer and a technologist exploring generative AI and AR, MR, XR, all the alphabet soup of tech.
And you provided us with some links, some new product we want to talk about later. And I know you put some money down on it. I put some money down on it, and I don't quite clearly understand why I should have, but we'll get to that.
It's kind of the story of the Vision Pro, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Why am I putting all this money down on something that I don't know what it's going to do yet? So let's go ahead and start with some of the news that we have, and then we'll get into some other articles and some other information. Well, it looks like I thought this was pretty cool. And again, it's a Apple Insider article. Future Apple headsets may use liquid lenses to correct vision. And I know there are a lot of folks who complained when the headset came out the Zeiss lenses weren't going to work for them, and particularly those that needed prism lenses. And I don't know if you can do prism lenses with this arrangement, but it's an interesting arrangement where there are liquid-filled systems that electrical current shifts the lens to match what you need. So I'm wondering if it's capable of even doing prism sort of lenses.
Yeah, I didn't look. I should have cross compared. I remember seeing a few years ago Zuckerberg demonstrating some prototypes of Quest, or rather Oculus hardware before, where it was electronically shifting focus. And it sounds like a similar technology, at least similar idea, solid state switching to switch the focusing dynamically in real time. It's like, yeah, I'd like to see that instead of anything like moving. Well, I mean, we're not doing moving now except for the pupillary distance, but for actual focusing, I mean, moving, that's kind of a non-starter in the long term. So something solid state.
Yeah, and the idea too that it can automatically shift depending on, because I'm a person that has distance vision issues, and I also need a different kind of prescription or arrangement for close-up. So the idea that the lenses could dynamically shift depending what's in your environment, if it's further away or if it's right in front of you, sounds pretty interesting and pretty cool. Eric, you're both glass wearers. You wear glasses. So how do you handle it Vision Pro now?
I've got drop in, but I'm mostly I can't see far away. My near vision is good, although I do wear computer distance glasses. Oddly enough, they do some adjustment, because when you first could order the Vision Pro, you could order inserts that were like computer distance, and then they started doing an adjustment, and then they checked for that and they wouldn't put it through. They would only put through a regular prescription. But there's something tweaked on it for the Vision Pro. And I don't know exactly what the difference is. But I actually got a set that is the computer distance and a set that's the regular distance for my drop-in inserts. And the computer distance ones definitely cover everything. And that's the one that works. The other one's just a little off.
Interesting. I'm surprised I'm surprised they did that, because I remember seeing that too. They were mostly making for like my partner has bifocals, so if they did him, they would do the far sight or the far whatever distance sight instead of the near. But yeah, I was going to ask you, like, how is it different to you? And then I was going to ask too, how have you messed with any of the settings for And I don't know what they're changing. There's some additional settings. I can't remember exactly where they are in like the eyes and hands section, but you can adjust somehow its rendering distance. Like I wonder if you played with that and you could maybe get the far ones to work as well as your closer ones do as well.
Yeah, I might try again because it definitely behaves differently now than it did with the initial 1.0 software.
And I do wonder, well, actually, something that is actually a nice thing to, if they do go with this, is that, it will suck to have to buy new lenses when my prescription changes. But like also at the same time, who am I to complain too much? Glasses are glasses, and oh no, I have to get them for my expensive face computer. But the fact that I wouldn't have to anymore would actually be really appealing. And it makes me wonder too if, it could not just adjust for like one time, perhaps, but could it dynamically
Ah,
adjust? Like what would a world be? Imagine your real world if your eyeglasses on our faces right now actually dynamically adjusted to the world.
Well, that's how the biology works generally for people who don't have glasses. I mean, they
That's
adjust
true.
to the distance. But for me, you bring up as you talk about it, the article goes on to talk about how this technology could very well be used in Apple Glass or Apple glasses, and they could give you give you a non-prescription version of Apple Glass, and then it adjusts to what your eyes are. Remember when you got the lenses, you not only got the lenses, but you got a little card that you had to look at that set the headset to the type of lens prescription that you're using. So my guess, Daniel, if your prescription changes, you get a different card or a different input, and then that'll change the lens for the new prescription.
Actually, yeah, the an eyeglass setup actually makes this far more interesting than to me. You're right, because I'm thinking, okay, the glasses would have to be designed in such a way to reflect and project whatever it wants to display into your eye only too. So the lenses would have to be pretty special. And what like could you even get a prescription version? If they're potentially so specialized, it may
Hmm.
not even be possible. And you almost do need something like this to exist.
Something that's dynamic.
Then it'd be cool actually if they could just bring it down to regular glasses. Then you could just go and buy any glasses you want. Don't have to and go and order my prescription lenses. No, I just configure them.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible, but it would be kind of neat.
It'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Well,
I will say that with the kind of pass-through mode where you're looking at content and looking at the real world around you, when I first started, I noticed it a lot that there were sections that were just out of focus. And either I'm getting used to it or the software changed slightly because I hardly get that now,
The
ever.
foveated rendering.
But I mean, not blurry because it's not full resolution, but blurry because it felt like I either had to get closer to it, my distance was off.
Oh.
Now I don't get that. I get times where I have to pause for a microsecond for it to refresh, but not, I don't see now where I feel like I need to go put on glasses to see whatever it is I'm looking at. It just works. So maybe after a while you get used to it and your eyes readjust. I have no idea.
I bought two sets of lenses, one that was supposedly a prescription for my readers.
Mm-hmm.
And with my readers, I generally have contacts in, and the readers do the close up. The contacts do the medium distance. I also bought a prescription that is supposed to work without my contacts, and the readers work without the contacts, but if I'm wearing my contacts, I bought a prescription to put in, and the prescription just doesn't work. I don't know if I screwed up or they took the wrong numbers off. And when I went back to the person who wrote the prescription, they had written a prescription that included my contacts in the lens adjustment. So it was very weird. I think I sent them a poorly done prescription. So basically, I got a set of lenses that are no good. I will take the readers out when I have my contacts in and just use my contacts, and it's good enough, you know. So I'm anxious to see what happens when I go in a couple of months and get my eyes checked again to first try and make clear to the person what I'm trying to do, because I got my prescription long before the headset came out, so I can be clear on what I want to see happen. And then maybe they'll write me a couple of prescriptions for various options of using the lenses or not using the lenses. I just think it's fascinating, the idea that there could be dynamic liquid lenses for folks that could solve a lot of problems, also make it adjustable. And maybe, what about a guest? I mean, what about that one guest that you have? Could they very well put their prescription in and the dynamic lens change that way? But I agree with Daniel. I think it's going to be interesting, the technology, if they just use it with an Apple glass. And you just basically program what you want the glass to do for whatever prescription you're going to use. I want to go on to another article which actually came out of X or Twitter, and just coincidentally, I completely canceled my X account, and so I guess I'm peeping in on it. But the link will be in the show notes, so you should be able to get to it. And I thought it was interesting because it basically is a series of 4 charts that tells you what eyesight does and what it means. And you've seen this when you've upgraded and you've got the headset off and you're looking at it. You get the Apple design, and essentially then it moves to the slowly creeping bar. But there are other clues and other things that happen that you might not notice because it happens when the headset's on you. So it's got particular configurations for capturing and mirroring, and it's got other kinds of configurations in terms of where you have a problem with the device, where you get the little warning thing, or if you're doing a persona setup, which we've all seen with the targeted kind of glowing target. And if it's running diagnostics, you get different things on it. I just had never seen it laid out this way.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were so many different ones. I think I had seen 3 or 4 of them.
Connect to Mac is interesting.
Yeah, I want to do that, when I'm standing in front of a mirror so I can actually see it.
Oh wait, you don't see your different eyesight displays often? I mean, I'll admit, I wear mine to the bathroom a lot, and it sees me in the mirror and thinks it's another person. So I constantly am seeing what
what your eyes look like
through it. Yeah, and I have.
But are you connecting to a Mac while you're there? That's the one.
While connecting to a Mac, yeah, that'd be funny. That'd feel real. Like if that popped up, that'd feel like real cyberpunky. Like error on the screen in front of me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I wish it'd be more blatant about the photo and the capturing though, for other people to be aware. It is nice to see it though, just kind of laid out like that. But actually I didn't know the mirror view and capturing video, which frankly that's a little that could be a little more blatant. Both of those could be more blatant, but maybe red, but that would also maybe give Terminator vibes.
Yeah. And it doesn't help some of us.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, with the thing passing back and forth, what is say when capturing videos or mirroring your screen recording, a white light sweeps across the display and then pulses. That makes me think of Gort from when the Earth stood still. That big giant robot, because he had, and you can look him up, listeners, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Gort from the day the Earth, and maybe say Klaatu Barate Nikto just to make things happy.
I wish that they would have a Cylon option so you could get the light going back and forth. Maybe not. that might be dangerous to the wearer.
Okay, another article, Apple Vision Pro's struggle. There's a series of articles, and I'll post them all. But the concept is, and one picked up after another, Apple Vision Pro's struggles, this comes out of Apple Vision Pro's struggles may have scared Meta off of a high-end mixed reality headset. So other articles will talk about, well, Meta looked at it and the cost of the 4K screens was way too much. They couldn't figure out whether it was going to be a moneymaker for them, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've got 4 or 5 that I found.
The one that talked about cost, that one seems like the most useful article. And what really happened, which is they had a price point. They said it needs to be there for our users to get it. And they had no way to get anywhere close to that price.
What I find interesting, and I added a story to the show notes. There's another headset that should be coming out soon. I think just in China, called the Pico 4 Ultra, and it's being touted in articles essentially like a Quest, like compared to the Quest 3 and compared to the Vision Pro, it looks like my take is it looks like $1,000 Vision Pro in terms of at least specs, and of course the software. You watch a video, the software looks like they just copied Apple stuff. But so and I think they're selling it for like 700 USD.
Yeah.
So if they were able to get that, now I mean different market, different economy, different whatever they can source their parts and prices for, sure. And if they wanted to target under 1,000 for Meta, I think they could probably afford to go up to 1,500 and still sell well. So that I find that it's really strange, because then this other comes out like basically in the same week, and it's meeting and exceeding those expectations for that target price point. So if they can do it, why can't they? Maybe it's a I'm almost want to read between the lines and think, did they have something else? I don't want to say better, but like something better to pivot towards instead for them? Like maybe they had some kind of breakthrough where they can go more the glasses route and just say, forget the headset. That's being optimistic, though, trying to read between the lines.
Yeah, I didn't see that you had put this up in the show notes. I ran across this, and I think we might have covered it in one of our earlier shows that when we started talking about competitors. I was close to pushing the button on it.
Can you even buy it in the US? Because I kind of want to buy one too, just to see.
I don't think you could. It's like, and that was one problem. Although it took me into the store, and all of it was basically in Chinese or Mandarin, Pinyin. But then I started thinking, okay, I'm going to put my money in this. I don't know where it's going. I don't know when I'll see it. It just doesn't seem like they're taking overseas sales. And if the damn thing breaks in the first week, where do I take it, or how do I return it?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's really, really tempting. Just because it looks like they stole the best out of both headsets and made it really consumer priceable.
And even add a little more. I don't know if it's an add-on, but a touted feet tracking as well, and just like two little, what are those when you're under house arrest? Two little tracking anklets. I don't know if it comes with them or if it's an extra add-on, but it's part of that ecosystem too, and controllers. So it's kind of they smushed the two together, it seems like. But yeah, right, like buying something like that overseas. I mean, yeah, about 700 to 1,000. That's where I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
So what do you think about this in terms of, we have an Engadget article in here. We have a iDownload blog. And the iDownload blog talks about the cost of the OLED panels and trying to make something a sub 1,000 price point.
Yeah, does that one have like a bill of materials breakdown? I remember seeing a bill of materials breakdown of the Vision Pro, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know where they can get anything out right now.
Yeah.
especially when also like in terms of the displays. I mean, it's just Sony right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Sony everywhere in there, and until other people start getting in the market.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they just are canceling it for now, because in the short term, it doesn't make sense to do anything, because by the time the price changes, it's going to be a different product anyway.
And I would say I think it's impressive how much they've buffed up the Quest 3
Yeah.
since the Vision Pro. It's still, not, I mean, it's great at what it does. It's not as good at a lot of the Vision Pro stuff that the Vision Pro is good at. But it's what they've been able to do so short time without changing hardware is impressive. So maybe it's also like, well, maybe they learned their lesson a little bit from some of the AI hype and some things. It's like, nah, let's maybe not go too nuts. Maybe they realized they might have been going a little too nuts. We need to just slow down a little bit here. And
What do you think's Daniel? What do you think's going to happen with that $1,000 version of the Quest Pro or whatever they call it?
Pro 2, because I know they had a Pro before, and that didn't do very well. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about it, and what differentiates it from the regular one.
Well, the iDownload blog is talking about a Quest 3 in 2026 for $500.
Like a 3S or something
for
like
a
that.
fourth generation Quest.
Oh, wait, I thought we are on Quest 3.
I'm just reading what it says. Maybe they mean something else. I was hoping you would jump in what they really mean. I'm assuming a product in that price area. So,
yeah, Mac Rumors, their article talks about Meta is continuing development on a Quest 4, a successor to Quest 3, and that headset could come out in 2026.
So they probably meant to write 4.
Yeah. The Quest 3 is priced at $500, which is likely going to be the target price point for its successor.
Oh, yeah. I just read it wrong.
I don't know, because
it's retained the $500 price of the Quest 3, but a fourth generation product. So that would be the fourth. So, yeah. So they've got a bunch of price points that marketing's trying to hit. They're trying to build products that hit within those price points, and they're not wanting to exceed them, which I guess sort of makes sense. It's much more of a sure thing. And if you can't hit the price point, you don't build the product and wait a little bit. And, in another year or so, maybe they can just build it. That doesn't mean they won't play with something internally.
I think it might matter what audience they want to try to hit with it primarily. Because I think you can get like the gamers tend to be price sensitive for sure.
Yeah.
And so I would expect a higher end one to be more productivity oriented. That's the only reason I'm even in Vision Pro land, because I wanted that first, gaming second. But maybe they just, I don't know, just don't see an adoption soon enough that they could make something that would be adopted to make it worth the effort. Better to just keep and capture the lower end audience that is underserved, at least compared to the Vision Pro and other competition. Well, the other competition is doing the same stuff.
Yeah, the Meta Quest Pro, which is on the market, and I just put one in my shopping bag and immediately deleted it out of my shopping bag, is $1,000 because I don't want to make any mistakes by pressing buy. And it has some higher specs to it, and I think faster processor. It's so, Daniel, what you're talking about in terms of, I really think Meta has got the market with the gamers, and it's the headset that every kid and some adults want under the Christmas tree. And so it's become that kind of standard gaming device. And I do appreciate what you said in terms of the Meta 3. They've done some changes with the software, with what's already in there, to really improve some aspects of it, to try and get more at any competition with it. So I think they're going to try. They know what their market is, and it's not $3,000 headsets.
And besides, it's Meta we're talking about. We all know they make their money elsewhere.
Yeah. By selling what games you watch to the people who What?
I calculated how long you gazed at that billboard. Cha-ching.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, shall we move on? And perhaps you can help me with this. The ambient computing, because I know there are some comments prior to going live about whether or not you believe in ambient computers.
To me, it doesn't make any sense. I think they're just renaming something that already exists, but maybe there's some, fine distinction that you could argue.
I tend to think of it like do you guys have Apple Watches?
Yeah.
I used to. But I tend to think of it maybe like that, right? Like it's always on there, it's always chugging away, it's always doing something for you, not just being a notification machine. Like if you're into the health stuff, it's doing all that tracking and stuff too. So I tend to think of it it's like passive, but providing or collecting information. And then AR could be part of that. Like I don't basically I don't know if it's fair to compare the two. I guess I feel like to even do AR, you also are implicitly ambient computing.
I
But
guess
you
that's
can
why.
do but you can do ambient computing without the AR.
I'm not sure why you would want to, but okay.
Well, maybe like I don't know, maybe like maybe a Google Glass was like kind of a closer to ambient computing without
Well,
the AR.
yeah. I
But then
mean,
that's kind of more of an Apple Watch on your face, so a little
yeah.
bit.
Well, I mean, really what it is it's some external computers controlling everything you see and watching everything you do, and then occasionally injecting an opinion and an ad. That's maybe ambient computing. It just doesn't feel good to me.
Ooh, sorry, that reminds me of somebody was mentioning that. I don't know if you guys saw this idea of a Apple humanoid arm robot rumor
Yeah. Yeah.
recently, and then I was reading some discussion. I actually want to see Apple AI just like listen in and chime in and be like, actually, and like send a factoid because it was listening on your conversation. Along the
No,
same like, no, what? No, but that
it
would
does.
be ambient computing.
That happens enough already.
Yeah, you just like say a word that vaguely resembles eerie and something triggers.
Yep.
I think they're trying to tie this to the glasses or potential glasses. And we have various attempts at smart glasses right now. And the idea that Meta and Google are running in the background, just picking up on what billboards I'm looking at. It's like, why don't I just give them data directly? you know,
Well, I mean,
it
yeah.
it just seems like another method. Ambient computing seems like another method to scrape data from users.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, maybe another good scenario that could help, at least how I think of the difference is, do you guys recall the feature, the Microsoft Copilot feature? I think it's only in their newer ARM-based ones, where it was essentially tracking everything you did on your
Yep.
computer in like a plain text file. But then you could use that with combined with generative AI techniques to like say, oh, what was I looking at before, or X, Y, and Z. So maybe it's along those lines of always essentially being able to remember and recall everything for you and compute on it at all times and be contextually
That's
aware.
a generous look at it. I mean, you're being very generous. You're assuming there are no bad actors in the process.
Oh, there always are.
Yeah. So, what color is the sky in your world, Daniel? If you kind of believe maybe it's just there to be helpful.
Can't have we build the car, you make the car crash.
Now I could see them doing something like this if they come up with lenses that automatically adjust for your prescription and you don't want to have to pay for those. And some advertising company or Google or whatever says, "Oh yeah, you can buy our version of these ambient computing glasses and we'll just give them to you and you don't need to pay for glasses and isn't it wonderful? And your life is ours."
Oh, now so okay, I'm just imagining like Kindle with ads,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
eyeglasses with ads.
Yeah.
I had a awful, not awful, but a clever idea. Like, okay, like there's no way there aren't there's like a map known where like all the billboards are like in the world or what have you and whatnot. So then if you could track everybody who looked at them and know if they looked at them and get that ROI on your advertising spend, right? Like that's valuable information and right there. So that's just that to the extreme. So now I
Yeah.
won't, when I go to the bathroom wearing my Vision Pro, I'm going to see an ad for toilet paper in the mirror instead of, me and my, glowing face.
Anytime you pause for a few seconds and aren't actively doing something, something will be injected into your view, and you'll be sold on something new.
Yeah, just don't wear them when you're driving.
Well, no, that's why no, you don't need to. No, that doesn't matter because all the cars have like 400 screens in them anyway, right? That's all there just to sell you ads eventually, or show you ads rather.
Well, it'll be interesting. Cletus in the chat room said he would not take glasses with ads.
No. That just seems like a bad idea.
But if you remember, like Minority Report, and even in some of the other science fiction movies where people are walking around and their environment is just popping up ads all over the place.
Or anyone can work remotely from home. You just need to wear these glasses.
Yeah.
And it will track and make sure that you're actually staring at our screens all day long.
And doing the job that you should do. So a nanny in that sense.
Yeah, it's bad. All
right, let's go on to what I think is kind of a clickbait, but it caught me, so why not have everybody else get it? This is from the Apple Post. Apple Vision Pro users must be 13 years or older, says Apple. Now, that's the hook. When you get into the article, what it is really is about for demos, that you can't sign up for a demo unless you're 13 years or older, but it doesn't specify why. Sort of like, kids, the arcade in the mall is not this store. Go to the arcade. Don't come here to Apple to get a demo and play.
So what's the regulation thing about safeguarding younger users from potential risks?
Yeah, delving deeper reveals an age limit regulate. Well, what is the risks? Only thing I could think of is their neck muscles aren't strong enough. They're gonna put that on and just smash their face into the ground. How heavy it is.
Seizure?
No, I thought that they were just trying to do, because it's for a while they were trying to pass something having to do with immersive content and trying not to have really young kids just jump into that because it's like strapping a TV to your head. And so they're trying to avoid that. So maybe it's something related to that. I have no idea. Or maybe it's because, if you're wearing it, you can't tell what it is they're watching. So, put them on an iPad and pretend like you're monitoring it all the time.
Yeah, there's the real dystopian future. Kids walking around with 400 different TikTok windows at once. It could actually have to do with their eye development, actually.
True. Good. Yeah. But it doesn't say, would it have been that much more difficult to add an extra sentence or paragraph
to explain what the legal concerns are?
Or, what the potential risks are that they're discussing. It just sounds like somebody has a document somewhere and did some guidance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, they make a point of saying that it is some legal concerns, regulations designed to safeguard younger users from potential risk. So they're basing it on some regulation. They don't say what the regulation is and how
whose it is.
Yeah, on how it safeguards younger users from potential risks. Well,
Meanwhile, they'll just walk out of the store, denied their demo, and then open up their phone and or pull out their iPad. And
so this doesn't mean that anybody should invite 13-year-old kids to their house to be able to use their Apple headset either.
I can see other problems with that.
Yeah, right. So we'll put that one in the feed so y'all can take a look at the article yourself. Apple Vision Pro will live or die on Apple's own words, spatial computing. It's an article from 9 to 5. Apple Vision Pros has been available for over half a year, despite an initial wave of excitement and viral buzz around the launch. These days, Vision Pro discourse isn't very positive. The device's rumored sales struggles and are often highlighted as a lack of compelling apps and content. It's too early to call the Vision Pro a success or flop, but to mark 6 months, I'd like to explore why the device's success ultimately hinges on, which is this term spatial computing. I kind of get it. I mean, I don't know if the success of it hinges on it, but the idea that if you're creating something that is supposed to be using a three-dimensional environment, then your computing should be three-dimensional, not two-dimensional, hanging up, in midair. There should be some quality of, and I'm talking about productivity apps right now. There are some in terms of design, but the general productivity apps that we use, mail, calendar, things like that, really don't use spatial computing as a keystone for their design or their use.
I don't think much does at all. And
I'm not sure that matters.
yeah, because I was trying to think, and I mean, I do think there will be productivity use cases for the third dimension. I mean, actually, I personally already have some, like being able to take my CAD models and go literally look at them in real full dimensional
Yeah.
accuracy in real time. Like that actually is right
Yeah.
there. I haven't done that in a while. I completely forgot. I haven't built anything in CAD lately. That's why. But I don't know. I think for a lot of people, it might not be for a long while, maybe for game devs or something. But even then, I don't think they're doing any like level building or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do it in engine. There's no reason why you couldn't like do it rendered in headset too at the same time to get a better look. But I don't know. I think I've always looked at that term spatial computer. Of course, like, they have to come up with a word, but I was just figuring it's just computing, but in your real world, not bound to something in the world, right? The screen, right? It's everywhere. And then that, does enable 3D if you want to do 3D things. That's kind of how I've looked at the term, I suppose.
Yeah, I think of it. I'm kind of a nut about this when people start to design things that have meaning in terms of space. That you need to that element needs to or a model has to have some meaning in terms of the dimensional direction or how the 3D model extends itself. I mean, I work in a field where people like to come up with models for things that generally they don't have a lot of evidence for. And when I see a chart or a design or something that is just fancy design work and really doesn't have any meaning in terms of how the things are laid out and how the items are laid out, I get pretty frustrated. So I guess I'm maybe a little sensitive to the idea that if it's spatial, it's got to be something more than 2D. When I talk about productivity, certainly CAD designs, you can do some cool stuff. We've seen demos of that in terms of products, and certain companies using them for product development. I'm talking about Word. We need to rethink Word in a spatial system. I think Excel, because somebody's asked me, have you used Excel yet? You can do more of a three-dimensional kind of output from a spreadsheet in Excel that you couldn't do, that you can't do as effectively on a two-dimensional screen. I think Excel has some component in it that they upgraded for using in Vision Pro. I think I read about that when they upgraded the Microsoft apps, but I also had someone ask me about it, specifically Excel, because Word doesn't. I mean, you can't really do too much with Word and PowerPoint, but Excel has potential for outputting in, three-dimensional graphs or designs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stretch my imagination here and try to think of some other ideas while I watch my dog try to pull my Ethernet cable through my door. Pardon me. Um, but I was just trying to think of other applications that could be more that 3D. I was like radar. Like I was thinking people on boats, fish radar. That'd be kind of
Yeah.
neat. You could see visually what's going on if it's mapped I mean, that's kind of out there. Am I really going to take a headset on a boat? But just thinking further out, right? Like when it's
Yeah.
more ubiquitous, doesn't matter. It's cheap. Who cares? Um, in car tuning, you actually do some things with in because I do that on the side. Like you'll have different tables in three, I think even fourth dimension. So something like that could actually even help me visualize that too, because I have a trouble personally interpreting like at least the three-dimensional tables when I'm looking at my tune. I'm still not really good at that part yet, but
Well, I mean, I think the other thing is that a lot of the spatial computer is the device knows where you are and it knows where the room is. Something as simple as taking a two-dimensional window and parking in a spot and having it not drift around the room. To me, that counts as spatial computing. It's in a spot in an area that's tied to the real world and it doesn't move. It's still in that spot when you come back. You can go get a piece of toast, you can go to the bathroom, you can come back and everything is still where you put it. I think sometimes people are kind of jumping ahead a bit and saying, well, if it's a spatial computer, it should be able to compute everything and it should be able to run massive calculations about whatever's going on around me instantaneously and all of the stuff coming out with Apple Intelligence. It should be able to do all of that, even though it's also keeping track of where the world is and where it is within the world. I think some of the issues with the Vision Pro is it is really a developer product that you're allowed to buy. And you might not have been able to get your hands on it in the past, but in this particular case, yes, you could buy the same thing the developers are using to build a product, and that's good. And at some point, there will be future products. At some point, there will be products with faster processors that can do more things. I think there are some limits to the processor that's in the Apple Vision Pro. There's some heat limits. There's some limits just because the processor was from back in time a little bit. There's a reason why the new iPad is using, skipped a generation up to the that the new chip because of heat load and being able to do extra calculations. Could they just reissue the Vision Pro with a newer, faster chip? Yeah, maybe, but you'd have to sell a lot more units to make it worthwhile to do that right away. There is plenty there to do the development. There's plenty there for a lot of people to get really good use out of it right now with what it can do.
Yeah,
the software hasn't really caught up. So yeah.
I'm going to push back because
Okay.
to me, spatial computing isn't, I can hang some windows up in the living room, put the headset down, go to the bathroom and come back and the windows are still there. I can do that with my desktop. They're all there when I go to the bathroom and come back. For me, spatial computing implies a dimensionality to it, not just a consistency to it, not just that it's there when I come back. Nor do I expect it to solve all the world problems while I walk away from it. But to me, there has to be some purposeful use of the space behind the window, going in, coming out of the window, or going out, going back behind the window to make it spatial computing, because I can't do that on my desktop.
Well, the thing I don't know is just to be able to put windows wherever and keep track of them. I don't know how much processing power that takes. And if you have an animation that's floating in the window, and you're spinning it around and you're resizing it, and maybe you have 2 or 3 going and a couple other connections, I don't know, does that start to hit the limits of what it can handle? And that's why there's not a whole lot more out there. I mean, yes, I agree. It should be able to do a lot more. The interface could be a lot more complex, but you can't jump from simple to super complex right away because people take time to catch up. So again, I mean, I guess I still look at it as users are given access to basically a developer tool and it's cool enough, I want access to it. Is it really done yet? And if it was really done, would it be issued with a different processor that's got more power and less of a heat problem?
For me I'm sorry, Daniel, I'll say this and then I'll let you close this out. For me, in order for it to be spatial, it has to be X and Y, X, Y, and Z, not just X and Y. And Z has to have a purpose. Has to have an additive value that I can't get from working on a desktop with a flat screen.
I'm going to type both your threads together, together uniquely. To your point there about needing that third dimension, I think there's definitely some limited imagination going on with respect to how to present these things in a third dimension. Because, like email,
yeah,
maybe that's not a good example, but I don't know how I can imagine email in a third dimension. I don't know how. Maybe there's a way that actually does make sense and is interesting. I'm not certain of that.
Time machine.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
You take all your email by type and filter and stretch it out in time. That would be
just a series of responses that I can just peel away.
Actually, that ties into an idea I've had a long thing, and it's something when I start my journey on development on Vision Pro, what I want to do. It's almost like so that kind of ties into that, and I can't really visualize how to explain that whole idea. But I think there's a lack of imagination, and I do think developers are a little bit limited. Like personally, I know I have two friends with them who are limited to what they can do just with respect to what APIs that Apple is exposed.
Yep.
So I do know that they are literally just limited and can't do anything about it right now. So there could be just some limitation. Maybe, maybe somebody's going to come out and show us some really interesting ideas, but I think the interesting ideas are limited because of their application model right now, because you have the difference between the immersive apps and the shared space, like spatial apps, and you can see a lot more different, unique control mechanisms in the immersive apps. But for me, those are non-starters personally, because I want the spatial, I want the in my real world. So I think there's a little bit of lack of imagination. I think a little bit of lack of we need a little more human-computer interface to perhaps make controlling it not is. Like I think if there was more ways to control what's going on, then we could maybe expand another dimension on some traditional applications. I don't know what that looks like yet. It could just literally mean unlocking the rest of your finger taps, like you can do on some immersive apps, which I think is super cool. Like middle finger taps to do this menu instead.
They record 21 points of data on your fingers when they scan your fingers, so I don't think it's far off.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen any non-immersive app be able to do anything other than pointer finger. All the others, they can do the other fingers.
Yeah.
So there's the imagination end and just the software end, and then on the hardware end, we know this Vision Pro is like maxed out, pretty much maxed out. So I mean, it seems fine now. I think even if there was like an M4, I think Eric's kind of looking more of like a spatial computing, dare I say, in a more ambient computing. But that's kind of like you want the window there, but then kind of expanding idea more. What if that window was like more aware of the real world and could be responding and changing based on that? But then in order to do that, since everything is self-tracked from the headset, when I go to the bathroom, something's got to be able to keep track of that and give data and feed data back in. So I don't know. It kind of almost feels a little chicken and egg. Maybe as we see a lot more of all these edge computing nodes that can do AI, ML, computer vision, and all that, as we start seeing more of those just proliferate, which we are. I mean, you can buy them for like $10. You get a little guy and do some computer vision on it. As we start to see so much more of that, I think all of our desires here will be answered in that sense, but I just don't think there's enough data for any one device to do any of it, and that's just where we are in the world in general. It's not even about the Vision Pro.
But to do it and to make progress, you still need access to at least a basic device. And the Vision Pro gives you that as a platform. Even if it can't fully do everything you want it to do, it has all of the different components, most of the sensors to let you kind of experiment to push the envelope.
And it pretty much is the only one right now. Like it's
Yeah.
doing the real time, everywhere you're walking around, it's real time 3D scanning everything.
Yeah.
Tracking everything. Like Quest isn't doing that. They can do it if you just sit there and don't move.
Well, I've got to put an end to this spatial computing cage match that's been going on, and go to this next article by TXI Digital. And I think it's rather cool because it gives a good, the article's called How Spatial Computing Makes It Easier to Train New Talent, Stay Compliant, and Detect Defects. And, there's some video in there. There's audio that describes it, but spatial computing can make training safer. And they give some examples of a employee, I guess, learning how to do different skills that are a part of the job. They talk about being able to create graphs with X, Y, and Z axes, since we were just talking about spatial computing, and then rotate them to consider data in different ways. This, I think, it's not just one manufacturer or one company doing this. This article kind of speaks to all the different possibilities if enterprise wants to get into this, on how they can use the headset for training for compliance, which is something everybody has to go through compliance training at some point, and other factors.
And industry had had their own AR stuff like warehousing for a little while, but it is good to broaden the imagination. Like the guy at the video, he's essentially playing a mechanic simulator. How to say, you know what? Ignore me.
The other thing is, this is actually really cool. I like the article. It looks like you can do some very, very neat things with it. But I think it's also important that something as simple as walking around with your Vision Pro and recording a sequence while you talk to yourself, trying to pass information down from one person to the other. If you've got like an experienced inspector and you have them do a walkthrough talking while you see exactly what they're looking at, what catches their eye, what do they lift up and peek under, and then you've got a video with all of that information that you can watch again and again and again, and maybe pull out segments from 20 different trips to get here are all of the things related to shingles, here are all the things related to problems with the foundation, here are all of the things related to siding, and being able to basically access 40 years worth of experience from a library and see. You don't get the hearing of it necessarily. This is really loud. You don't get the smells, but you get a lot of it, and distance and kind of what to focus on. Same with plant identification, walking up and saying, on this, you're paying attention to this bark, you're paying attention to the underside of this leaf, to this branching pattern, or this seed that when you touch it, it explodes. So that's an indication of what it is. All stuff you pick up with experience, but you can take an experienced person, walk them through a trail, record it, and then every other guide that you're trying to bring on board to help with summer camp, they all can experience the same thing, even if it's the middle of the night when they arrive, getting ready for campers the next morning. So I think that's a great opportunity without having to do tons of programming, being able to generate some content or throw it in a database and bring it back. That just adds to that.
You have a fervent imagination. You just went on this whole camp counselor nature guide trip. That just kind of rolled out of your head.
Well, I've got a bunch of plant identification thing I really, really want to do, and some time-based stuff where you can see something in the winter, something in the summer, where you'd have to make 3-4 trips, and you can't always do that. So I have a side project I want to do.
Cool.
remember shortly after it came out, a video of a building inspector, construction building inspector,
Yeah.
and he was running and doing it. And of course, it's only, the first like month or two, so not a lot to do, but it was still hyper convenient for him to have like all his structural and PDFs and all that, and just look around and do it.
That was cool.
Yeah, so now like go extrapolate a little further. Why wouldn't it just since it is 3D scanning all the time, why wouldn't it also essentially 3D scan every part of the construction environment you're in, perhaps also comparing it to the plans, the models that you have, 3D models, and then it can map that, see how the building is progressing with respect to the inspection. And then, I mean, even the inspector could miss something, but it picked it up, and then it can point it out to them.
Yeah. Or generate a plan and then compare the two. And when they don't match,
and I mean,
yeah.
With AI, one of the things that attracted my attention to it is recovering from colorectal cancer. My son sent me an article that was said basically doctors get to see scans and they don't catch everything, but with AI, they can search through 10,000 scans and see indications that might miss the doctor's eye. So taking that AI concept and applying it to building structure, like you were talking about, Daniel, that they could scan the environment, compare it to the plans, but also compare it to other structural experiences that have either been problematic or non-problematic. So they get some data on what to look out for. Okay, we're running fast and loose with ideas here tonight. I just want to let listeners and people who are watching, we don't get any, when we talk about products, we don't get any kickback from them. It's not an endorsement necessarily. But Daniel, tell us about the Surreal Touch.
Sure. All right. So Vision Pro, not a VR headset. It's a spatial computer, but a bunch of people have been able to port what is called ALVR to the Vision Pro, which lets you wirelessly stream PC VR games to your Vision Pro headset, which leaves the only problem to be solved is controls. Today, up till now, people have been using Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons to some mixed success, but of course doesn't have the depth of having actual two controllers in your hand that are fully tracked in real space and with the buttons and analog sticks and the triggers and all that, so you can fire the gun and move the character. So Surreal Touch is wow, I'm not even gonna say where they're based. I don't know where they're based out of, but they are coming out and launched a Kickstarter today for their set of controllers for the Vision Pro that are self-tracked. So each one has two cameras in it, and just like the Vision Pro, and it's tracking itself in space independently of the headset. Whereas pretty much all the others, like your controllers that would come with a Quest and whatnot, the headset's tracking them. So you can't really use them on the Vision Pro. Well, I did mention people were using Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons for now. Another solution you could do right now is use VR controllers that are tracked by lighthouses that you have to mount, somewhere in a room and make a dedicated play space and like put two in opposite corners so it can track them and send that back to the computer. So with these controllers, it's like I said, it's completely self-tracked, just pairs with Bluetooth with the Vision Pro. It looks like they've also done a slight fork of ALVR on the Vision Pro, and I think that fork I think they're making it a little simpler to set up the controllers, configure them, have like pre-made profiles so they'll like work with the games on the PC VR side of things. Excuse me. I know they have SDKs available, so they can also be used in native Vision Pro apps. Actually, I think there was a game Marty mentioned the last episode I was on. It was like shooting guns at like to the beat. It was kind of like the beats that are Beat Saber. I think that one actually already has support for these because they've been sending out prototype units to developers. So real exciting for me. It'll be nice to finally get into VR gaming. Like I said, the Kickstarter is live now. All the early birds are gone. But then those are like 250 for repair. I don't know
Depends
what
on whether you want
the
the gray or you want the glossy white. Which did you get?
I don't remember. I think I got the glossy white. I was debating. I couldn't decide. I think it went up in glossy white just because I think it would be easier to keep clean. And
I
I'm a
went with
big
the
clean
gray.
freak.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
went with
check it
the.
out. I think it'll be cool. I think the MSRP when it eventually like comes out in Office Kickstarter was only like 370, which isn't that bad in the scope of what your other options are. Because I checked out the price before to get like I think it was like HTC Vive controllers with the
Mhm.
lighthouses, and I'd be having to spend about $600. And I'd still have to mount these on the wall, whatever. I'd have to, just do it in my office. Cost more, kind of janky, not really native to it. And I'm interested to see if this method of the controllers being self-tracked perhaps becomes more common. Maybe it's a little more complex to do, but I think that does enable some different things. Like, if the headset's tracking the controllers, you can't track it when you put it behind your head. Now, do you
Mhm.
need to do that all the time? No, but like if you're playing a game where you're going to go pull out like a gun from the back that your character's holding on the back, that's kind of important. It's little things like that. I think that'd be interesting to see if it becomes a common technique, not just something we had to do for the vision.
Well, I think early birds are predicted to come out in December.
Yeah.
You felt a little. I felt a little frustration in your message. It was like, oh, I gotta wait till December.
Uh, well, I've
Yep.
waited this long, but I mean, yeah, I want my instant gratification. I'm a
And then
millennial.
then the for the non-early birds, I think they said January. That was when I checked it this afternoon. I don't know if that'll be pushed back even more with the options, but it is a Kickstarter, so there are always risks that these things could belly up. I did Kickstarter, and then what was the other one? I forget what. There was another one, a system that
Indiegogo?
yeah, Indiegogo. And, with mixed results. The stuff sometimes came late. The stuff some was kind of sub-functional. And, other times it was interesting and good new technology. But I probably could have waited to get them. But it's surreal-interactive.com. We'll get you to the page that talks about Surreal Touch, and you just search for Surreal Touch on Kickstarter if you want to get involved in that product. Again, we get no kickback from Kickstarter or from Surreal Interactive, but Daniel found these things and I thought pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Let's talk about a couple of apps. Sidekick. I don't know if you've looked at this. It is a 3D assistant. Looks like a little robot.
Little Wally.
A little Wally. So I downloaded this, and you get 15 credits, and basically every time you ask it to do something, it costs you a credit. So it's one of those get a pocket of nickels because you're going to be in it for a while. If you really start to use this from spatial, from a sense of having an assistant. And I want my assistant to do something really fabulous for me. I want my assistant to look at my schedule, figure out, create I want it to work, especially if I'm paying for credits. And the in-app purchases range from one, I don't know, it was like 300 credits per month was, I think, the pro version. I have to go in and look at it.
I think there was an unlimited one too, but I
Yeah,
didn't.
there was an unlimited. It was like $300. I mean, it was a big price for annual. And so it seems like an expensive habit to get into. I would say if you're interested, download this little guy and use up the 15 credits. One of the questions that cost me a credit was, tell me what you can do.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I
Oh,
can
wow.
I can take, oh, well, I can be your assistant and I can, you can ask me questions. Well, yeah, I mean, I can do that to my cell phone. But it is, you can put them over on the floor next to you and do your work. And occasionally, I guess, if you feel lonely, you can ask it a question and see what response you get. I'd say it's worth the download, play with the 15 credits that you got, and then make a decision at that point whether or not you want to cha-ching with this guy for the rest of your life. Sometimes we all need a friend, even at 1 credit per question. And then the other piece of software, Magic Room LiDAR environment. And I don't know, I picked this up. Maybe it was on Reddit that I saw it. And there was a picture, and basically the comment was, I watched The Matrix while I was in The Matrix. And Daniel and Eric, you can help me with this, but essentially you're scanning your room for a wireframe, and it creates a wireframe, and then you throw whatever background on it that you can get. It looks like there's beta test flights going on with it. And I guess, I don't know if there's like a GitHub where you can find all these cool things, or how you actually get these different experiences in terms of environment.
I walk around and scan my room and scan the kitchen and scan the hallway. And I had a dog that helped me by getting up and moving into wherever it was I was scanning. So I have little lumps
throughout
each of the spots. But then, yes, did the Matrix overlay, having little matrixy things running around everywhere, and it was, cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, they kind of just they're like, what if we just showed you everything that it's doing, and then we put some fun textures on top of it in some ways. I haven't used this one in particular, but I've used some other ones that are similar. Some that are frankly far more. You can make far more weird. Like I don't know the names of them, but you can put your own images on there. So just putting random meme images that get tiled and patterned all over your walls is very horrifying and fun.
Now, Daniel, have you have a Mesh 3, Meta 3, excuse me?
No, I want to get one though, so I can have at least a fair opinion.
Comparison.
Yeah,
because the big demo in that is, I don't know if you've used one yet, but the big demo in that is like alien attacks, and
like coming out your walls.
Yeah, they come out of your wall. You scan your room, they come out of your walls. They're like little tribbles. They're like little furry, so they're non-threatening. They're Star Trek-y, non-threatening, little adorable things. But they pile up, and then basically you're kind of like shooting them as they start coming through your walls. But that, I thought, was kind of an interesting, effective way of using mesh. This, I'll have to try something. But Eric, you told me that you were able to walk around inside the Matrix, except for your lumpy dog that was all over the room.
It was interesting.
I want to see a zombie survival game where you're surviving in your own house. From the zombies trying to break in through the glass, or
No, there is one. I've played it on Vision Pro.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was about to say, if no one has, also, I was going to say, if no one has, that's a missed opportunity. I need to try that, find that then.
I will find it and put it in the show notes. So everybody, but it's okay. The last time I played it, it's been a while, but it's okay. I'm very bad at killing zombies. I won't stand a chance against them, but it is kind of weird and terrifying when you do it. So I'll find the game and put it up in the show notes, and Daniel, you'll be able to fight off zombies.
My dream.
Just don't step on the dog in the middle of the room.
Oh God, all 3 dogs. I'll fall over on them, actually.
Okay, so that's it for this episode.
Oh, I had one thing quick.
Okay. Yeah,
so
I'm seeing.
It came out, what is it, August 8th?
Yeah.
Apple added the immersive wildlife elephants season 2, episode 2.
Yeah.
But they did a nice job with it. I finally got a chance to watch it. And there's a couple of scenes where they put the camera in one spot and then the elephants walk right past you. That's really cool. Another scene where they're doing mud baths. Basically scenes where you could see the elephants, doing whatever they would normally do each day, but you're not disturbing them by being some stranger that's standing there staring at them.
Right.
It's all, animals and people they're regularly interacting with. And that's something, that I don't have an opportunity to see. So
it was, I watched it. I think the weekend it came out, and it's not just great video. It's a great story. The balloon one that came out, that was for me fun because I've been to Turkey, haven't been to that area, but know about it. It wasn't really terribly informative. There wasn't really a lot of story behind the balloon one, but this one had a great story about it in terms of wildlife preservation and also just the sociability and memory that elephants have, because they'd get old enough to disappear, to be let out in the wild and just not come back. But they would come back probably every year just to check in to make sure that the facility was still there. It was really quite cool.
Yeah. And bring kids to show off.
Yeah. Yeah,
that cool.
That's right. The elephants would bring back their kids to let them know this is look at this place. So yeah, pretty cool. It had me develop a greater appreciation for elephants, and then the work they're doing in Kenya around the Wildlife Trust. Good story, great video. So thanks for bringing that in. So this week's episode, we're just about done. I just want to remind you, Eric and I are working with Chuck Joyner of Mac Voices, and we're doing something called Vision Pro Focus, which is sort of a monthly magazine. And right now we're trying to schedule the next one with Chuck. The first one, which is, I think, available on our site as well as available on Mac Voices. The audio is available on our site as a podcast. And the video is available through Chuck's site if you want the video. On the first show, which was about social aspects of Vision Pro, and we're already knocking around the next one that we'll do in the next week or two will be about entertainment and how people use Vision Pro for entertainment and what the experience of entertainment is. So pay attention and look for that on the Mac Voices channel and also on Vision Profiles, as we have it, the audio, at least the audio portion on our podcast. Daniel, thanks for joining. Trying to convince you to be a regular. You bring so much to the conversation.
I will see. I mean, some of my day job stuff seems like it's lightening up, so we'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll take you any time and anyhow we can get you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'd love to hear from our listeners and viewers. If you have ideas or want to join an episode, just email us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com, and I will try to check the email more often. There's someone sitting in there right now that's on a inconvenient time zone on the planet that we're going to try and work something out. Our bumper music is from Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. It's called Free Jazzy. Learn more about us and the Vision Profile podcast and the Vision Profile live stream at VisionProFiles.info. And all of our other available podcasts you can find at thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.